Today, I will be talking about how we can unleash economic growth in Nigeria and revitalize our economy, creating job opportunities and other economic opportunities for our population, our rapidly growing population. So, the current estimated population of Nigeria is about 230 million, and about 60 or 70% of that population is people below the age of 40. you know, and that describe how young our population is. We have a large population. The growth rate of the population is about 2 or 3%, and majority of the population is the young people. We need to start thinking of how we can create opportunities for this population as it keeps rising. So we need to look at ways we can manage this population by creating opportunities, and that will also help to reduce the social vices in our society, like crimes and insecurity, kidnappings and terrorism and banditry. It will help us to, you know, make good use of this population and not falling victim of a state where you have large population that you're not able to manage and make use of it appropriately. Currently, there is a serious unemployment problem in Nigeria, and also there is an underemployment problem. Unemployment just means that people don't have work to do. Underemployment means that people are doing things that are below their training or abilities. But today I'll be discussing ways that we can unleash economic growth in our country to grow both our gross domestic product and also create, good opportunities for our people to make good use of their skills and abilities. But first of all, I want to start by stating a fundamental truth that no government is able to solve or can solve unemployment problem by employing more people. So unemployment problem cannot be solved by government employing a lot of people, because government is not meant to solve the unemployment problem alone. It is not able. It doesn't have the ability to solve the unemployment problem alone. It has the tools to create the right conditions to solve unemployment as a problem, but it cannot solve unemployment by simply employing a lot of people, like, in the civil service or in the armed forces. You can't fix unemployment by simply employing a lot of people into government. You create a crisis where you have a lot of people working for the government, but they don't even know what they are doing in government. There are instances where people go to work and come back without doing anything. They just went there to just, record attendance. How do you create a state of equilibrium where you make optimal use of the employees you have? So we must look at ways of controlling the employment even in the government, not increasing employment, because you create crisis where you have a lot of people employed by the government and the private sector does not have much to do in the labor market. And the wage bill of the government will increase such a level that the recurrent expenditure exceeds the capital expenditure. Every government is fighting to see that it reduces recurrent expenditure. Recurrent expenditure is simply, in Nigeria we call it stomach infrastructure. The money you keep spending without, sustainable impact. You need to look at how you can invest in capital expenditure and build a strong and vibrant economy. So, government cannot solve unemployment by employing a lot of people, especially when they don't even make good use of the ones they already have. The first step to fixing unemployment and creating economic growth is to understand that human beings are resources. Similar to any other resources around, or even better than any other resources, human beings are resources. The same way you see oil, precious stones like diamonds, like gold, platinum, nickel, blue sapphire, and all of these precious stones, we see them as resources. And they are precious because they are expensive or they are rare. We should also begin to see human beings as resources. That's the key to solving unemployment. When we see human beings as resources, the next thing is, how do we manage these resources? Because any resources you're not able to manage effectively becomes a problem, becomes a curse instead of a blessing, right? And that's the current state of Nigeria, where you're seeing banditry, by our young people, young men into kidnappings and so forth, is because of mismanagement of resources in the years past. So how do we manage our human resources in such a way that we maximize their productivity and make them make good use of themselves, contributing to the society in the growth and development of the society? How do we manage that resources that we have in abundance, which is human beings? We do that by channeling our labor force, and which is mainly the young and energetic or vibrant population, by channeling the labor force into productive sector, because currently they are not organized or they are not channeled. They are just on their own. Many of them don't know what to do. There is no job, not means of making livelihood. They are just wasting away. So how do we make good use of these resources? By channeling them to the right places. We can do that by creating opportunities for skilling the population, because you can only engage something you have trained. Something that you have not trained, that you have not equipped, is difficult to engage because they will misfunction or they will malfunction. So we need to upskill our population. We have a large deficiency in skill in our country. I'm not talking about formal education, knowing how to read and write, or having a degree or whatever certificate. I'm talking about skill, something you can do with your own hands. It's deficient in our country. We have highly educated people, but we are very deficient in skill. So we can channel that population by upskilling our population, because the more skilled your population, the more expensive your labor. Right? Someone that is more skilled, you have to pay them more. That is why you pay, you pay more to see a consultant than, the regular doctor, because he has more skill. So our labor market begins to grow, and the wage begins to grow when we are able to skill our population in such a way that their skill becomes more expensive. It's not about formal education, I've said. It's about skill, what you can do with your hands. You can be educated and have, PhDs and whatever qualification, but if you can't do something with your hands, you may not be able to deliver in certain economies. So skilling must be done in a standardized and a structured way. Not just, anyhow, and then people will just go and, go to a place and say, I want to learn how to plait hair, or I want to learn how to tailoring, or I want to learn how to do mechanic. And then you say, okay, just sit around and be observing what we are doing. No, that is not structured. That is not organized. That is not standardized. We need to skill in a standardized and a structured way. And I believe that these skill acquisition centers, although their intention is good, have not really delivered on their objectives. So also are our polytechnics, right, that are meant to train people in hands-on skills. They have not delivered in their objectives, because if they have delivered in their objectives, we won't be having the issue of unemployment the way we are having now. So polytechnics are supposed to skill people with hands-on, technical skills, and skill acquisition centers that are opened by state and federal government, they have not delivered in their objectives. So something is wrong in our application of that model. So how do we create a structured and standardized way of skilling our population? We can do that by making use of digital technology. For example, creating a platform where you integrate self-learning with practical learning. So we can create the learning platform similar to what LinkedIn Learning is doing. If you go to LinkedIn Learning, you see how they structure those courses. So we can create our own national platform where we structure courses that people can learn on their own, and also practical aspect where they are connected to a preceptor that teach them in that skill that they have learned in a practical setting. And this doesn't have to be, as long as obtaining a diploma in a polytechnic. It can be as short as a 6-month course. For instance, we can create certain systems whereby relevant skills that we know that we are deficient in. I'm going to list some of them. We create short courses that you can learn on these platforms for about 3 months. And the other 3 months, you are sent to a preceptor that is actually doing that skill as a business. And the preceptor also receives some orientation before then to be able to guide you on how you will learn and apply those skills. So after learning on that platforms, the next stage is to be connected to a preceptor that is actually doing business in that field. And that preceptor gives you the practical training. So you have learned the theoretical training on the platform. And these courses will be well structured and standardized for each of the skill packages. I have about 12 skill packages that I will be calling, that we can structure it on these platforms that people can go on their own without paying any money. They will learn those skills. And then the government, the moment you pass the test, theoretical test, you will be connected to a preceptor that is also registered with the government. And that preceptor will guide you in the practical aspect. It can be sandwich. It doesn't have to be first 3 month theory, last 3 month practical. It can be sandwich. You can be learning theory and practical at the same time. But one way you can do it is to do first 3 month theory and the next 3 month practical, where a preceptor guides you. How you apply that theoretical knowledge in the real world setting. A preceptor is someone that is doing that skill as a business currently. Him also needs to be given some orientation on how to teach and guide you in adopting those skills, right? And there should be a systems where there's accountability, where you are being checked whether you are actually going and attending those lessons with the preceptor. And after the 3 months, the government can give you seed capital to start your business. So you have taken out the skill acquisition centers completely. You don't even need skill acquisition centers. And these skills, it doesn't matter whether you have gone to the university or you have a degree, you can get these skills. And they include skills like mechanics, cars, generators, heavy-duty trucks mechanic, bricklaying and painting, carpentry, electrical repairs like solar fixing, house wiring, phone and electronics, all under electrical repairs, hairdressing and barbing, plumbing, software developers, catering and bakery, agriculture, crop cultivation, animal breeding, waste recycling, leather and shoemaking, tailoring and fashion design. And these skills are needed in Nigeria currently. And some of the people doing these skills are not doing it good enough. So they also need to be upskilled, right? So it doesn't matter whether you have a degree, you can still get these skills and make, proper contribution or better contribution to the economy. And part of the theoretical course, people should be taught on how to register a business, how to manage their finances, like accounting, how to pay and file their taxes, right? And skills on even how to export their their product. How do you export your product? This should be all part of the theoretical aspect of the course. Maybe there should be one general course that teach everyone these things. How you register your business, how you manage your finances, file your taxes and keep your accounting in the preliminary stage before you have someone doing it for you more formally. How do you export your product or services? All of these things should be taught in the theoretical stage. This is how you build a more structured and standardized skill set for your population. Thank you for listening and see you next time. Bye.